It was intriguing to note how people, there was the word they kept using here, pivoted. So they pivoted using either the strengths of what they did before to deliver it slightly differently.
When Princess Anne first stepped onto the world stage as Queen Elizabeth II's only daughter, few predicted the extraordinary journey ahead. Born into privilege but expected to fade gracefully into the background, Anne had other plans entirely, and over 5 decades, she has shocked the world. How did she survive controversies that ended other royals' careers? And how did she reinvent herself as the second most powerful royal in the world? Join us as we explore the shocking and transformative moments in Princess Anne's remarkable life. Her alleged first appearance as queen. Royal watchers were reportedly stunned when Princess Anne allegedly appeared at a recent high-profile event in a role that looked far beyond her usual duties. Witnesses claim Anne stepped forward to lead proceedings, greet officials, and represent the crown in a way that closely resembled how a reigning monarch would act. The moment immediately sparked rumors that the public may have just seen what looked like her first appearance as queen.
I think a lot of people in this country think that Anne would actually make a great queen.
Even though no official announcement was made, during a time when senior royals were not present, insiders say Anne took charge. She was put in a prominent position, managed official duties, and met with important guests without the usual support. Some royal experts believe this was planned, hinting that the palace might have been quietly checking how the public would react to seeing Anne in such a strong, queen-like role. Social media quickly filled with comments, with many people praising Anne's abilities and experience. Supporters felt she looked at ease in the role, while others were confused and questioned if things were being misunderstood. Some experts think the way it was shown was planned, pointing out that Anne's long commitment, discipline, and good reputation make her a trustworthy person during uncertain times for the monarchy. The palace has not said anything, but this event has caused a lot of rumors. Was it just a temporary job that people made too much of, or a sneak peek at what might happen in the future? Until officials explain what really took place, one thing is clear. Anne's appearance surprised everyone and made many wonder if they just saw history happening quietly. This mystery has made royal fans think about when Anne first became known for her strength and independence. Could this moment, that looked like she was acting as a queen, be linked to her childhood and the special freedom she had while growing up in the royal family? The birth of a royal rebel and her first steps into public life. Princess Anne Elizabeth Alice Louise was born on August 15, 1950 at Clarence House, arriving 2 years before her mother would become queen. Unlike her older brother Charles, groomed from birth for kingship, Anne grew up with more freedom and considerably less scrutiny, which allowed her to develop a remarkably independent and strong-willed personality. Her education at Benenden School shaped her into someone who valued hard work over pageantry. While other young royals were content to wave at events, Anne threw herself into learning about the organizations she represented and refused empty platitudes. Her father, Prince Philip, recognized something of himself in his daughter and encouraged her competitive spirit and athletic pursuits. By 1969, when Anne began official royal duties at 18, she had already established herself as someone who wouldn't be constrained by traditional expectations. She spoke her mind, refused to smile simply because cameras were present, and made clear she had little patience for media obsession with her appearance. The press dubbed her royal rudeness, complaining she lacked warmth and accessibility. But Anne was playing a longer game that would eventually transform public perception from cold and difficult to one of the monarchy's most respected members. Her early years taught valuable lessons about the price of fame and the importance of substance over style. Yet as she built her reputation as a serious working royal, danger lurked just around the corner. The terrifying 1974 kidnapping attempt that changed royal security forever.
Good evening. There's been an assassination attempt on Princess Anne and Captain Mark Phillips, but they escaped unhurt.
On March 20th, 1974, Princess Anne went through a very scary experience when Ian Ball tried to kidnap her in London. The 23-year-old princess was on her way back to Buckingham Palace after a charity event when Ball, a 26-year-old man without a job who had planned the attack for 3 years, made her car stop on the Mall. Ball bought 2 handguns, wrote a ransom note asking for £3 million, and rented a house near Anne's home to watch her. When her car stopped, Inspector James Beaton, who was protecting Anne, got out to check. Ball shot Beaton in the shoulder, and his gun got stuck when he tried to shoot back. Ball then shot Anne's driver and opened the back door of the car, telling the princess to come with him. Anne showed great courage and strength during a scary moment and refused to do what Ball wanted. Later, she remembered having a conversation about where they should go, and she told Ball that it would be better if he just left. When he grabbed her arm and tried to pull her out of the car, Anne famously said, "Not bloody likely," while holding on to the car tightly as Captain Phillips tried to pull her back inside to keep her safe. The attack might have succeeded if not for brave passers-by. Journalist Brian McConnell was shot in the chest when he tried to help, and Police Constable Michael Hills was also shot responding to the scene. The real hero was former boxer Ronnie Russell, who punched Ball in the head, buying time for Anne to escape. Detective Constable Peter Edmonds finally arrested Ball after a chase through St. James's Park. All 4 men who were shot during the event survived, and Ball was later found to have schizophrenia. He was given an indefinite sentence at Broadmoor, a secure psychiatric hospital, where he still lives today. This surprising event changed royal security rules forever, leading to stronger protection measures and major updates to security systems. Anne's calm reaction to the situation gained her new respect from people who had previously thought she was cold and distant.
It was an extraordinary incident, and she handled it in the most extraordinary way.
But while Anne survived this brush with death, she quickly moved on, and just 2 years later, she would take on a challenge that would cement her place in royal history, breaking royal barriers at the 1976 Montreal Olympics. In 1976, Princess Anne made history as the first British royal to compete in the Olympic Games. She took part in the tough equestrian 3-day event, which was a big personal achievement for her and changed how society viewed royal women. For many years, princesses were expected to look pretty, marry important people, and mostly attend charity events. But Princess Anne trained hard for many years and wanted to compete based on her own skills, breaking the old rules about royal women. Her love for horses began early, passed down from her mother. Princess Anne took this love and pushed herself to compete at levels no other royal had tried before. In 1971, she made history by winning a gold medal at the European Eventing Championships in Burghley. In 1975, she won silver medals in both individual and team events. These wins showed she was a top competitor in equestrian sports. Even with her success, she faced constant criticism that other competitors, who weren't royals, didn't have to deal with. The journey to the Montreal Olympics was filled with sadness for Princess Anne. Her cherished horse, Dudley, suffered a terrible injury when he broke his leg. Sadly, this meant that she had to say goodbye to him and withdraw from the 1972 Munich Olympics, which was a big disappointment for her. However, 4 years later, she had another chance to compete. This time, she rode her mother's horse named Goodwill. The entire royal family made the trip to Montreal to cheer her on. Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, and all 3 of her brothers were there to support her during this important moment in her life. It was a significant occasion, as they all gathered to witness her compete at the Olympics, showing their love and encouragement for her efforts. Unfortunately, the competition ended in disappointment when Anne suffered a bad fall during the cross-country phase, sustaining a concussion that left her with no memory of completing the course. But in typical fashion, she remounted and finished anyway despite her injuries. While she didn't medal, her participation itself was the victory, paving the way for her daughter Zara Tindall, who would win Olympic silver in 2012. Yet even as Anne built her reputation as a serious athlete and working royal, her personal life was about to become the subject of scandalous tabloid attention: the forbidden romance with her bodyguard, Peter Cross. In the early 80s, Princess Anne found herself embroiled in what would become her first significant romantic scandal, which notably involved her bodyguard, Detective Sergeant Peter Cross. He had been assigned to her protection detail in 1979, and within a remarkably short span of less than a year, whispers and rumors began to circulate throughout Scotland Yard regarding the true nature of their relationship. For a princess who was already married, any hint or suggestion of infidelity was bound to be explosive and scandalous. But the fact that this situation involved her own security officer made it even more complicated and problematic. According to Cross, Anne used the pseudonym Mrs. Wallace when she phoned him, a reference to Wallace Simpson, for whom Edward VIII abdicated. Cross described Anne as very lonely and isolated during this period, with her husband's duties keeping him away frequently. When Scotland Yard discovered the relationship, they removed Cross from royal protection and reassigned him to desk duties, handling the scandal with typical British discretion. In the midst of the swirling controversy, Anne's marriage to Mark Phillips managed to endure the tumultuous Cross scandal, at least for a limited period of time. However, this particular incident served to expose significant and troubling cracks in their relationship that would only continue to widen over time. It was later uncovered that Phillips had fathered a daughter with New Zealand art teacher Heather Tonkin in the year 1985, which painted a rather bleak picture of a marriage that had been devoid of genuine connection for many years, held together primarily by a sense of duty and obligation rather than love or affection. The Cross affair taught Anne harsh lessons about the impossibility of privacy when every move was scrutinized. But rather than becoming more cautious, Anne grew more defiant, and within years, she would embark on another relationship that would lead to an even more embarrassing scandal. The stolen love letters. Scandal that shook Buckingham Palace. In the year 1989, Princess Anne unexpectedly found herself at the center of a scandal that would prove to be both explosive and sensational. This incident involved the theft of 4 highly intimate letters that had been personally written to her by Commander Timothy Lawrence. These letters were stolen from the secure confines of Buckingham Palace and subsequently delivered anonymously to the offices of the Sun newspaper. At the time, Anne was still married to her husband, Mark Phillips, which made the contents of these letters clear and undeniable evidence of an ongoing affair between her and Lawrence. Recognizing the potential legal ramifications of this situation, the Sun made the prudent decision to hand over the letters to Scotland Yard for further investigation. However, they did not shy away from announcing in bold, eye-catching headlines that they possessed intimate correspondence between the princess and her companion, Lawrence, which sent shockwaves through the media and the public alike. The Sunday Mirror described the letters as extremely personal and intimate, and too hot to handle, sending the media into a feeding frenzy. However, a source told People magazine they were actually the sort of letters 18 or 19-year-olds write to one another, thoughts about life, and rather philosophical, adding, "It's quite clear he is potty about her, but they are very boring and ramble on." Buckingham Palace issued a statement acknowledging the letters had been sent to Anne by Lawrence, describing him as a friend, and noting they were the subject of a police investigation. This carefully worded response neither confirmed nor denied an affair, but the implication was clear. A security source told People the contents are not raunchy and do not suggest any intimacy, but they are written in affectionate terms. If Captain Phillips wanted to know why they were written, the princess would have some answering to do. Scotland Yard launched a 4-month investigation, taking 500 fingerprints from palace staff, but the culprit was never found. The scandal raised serious questions about palace security and how personal correspondence could be so easily stolen. For Anne, the scandal marked the beginning of the end of her first marriage, though it would take 3 more years before she and Mark would finally divorce. Yet even as her personal life unraveled publicly, Anne continued royal duties without missing a beat, demonstrating the extraordinary compartmentalization that would become her trademark. The divorce that capped the Queen's annus horribilis. On August 31, 1989, Princess Anne and Captain Mark Phillips announced their separation after 16 years of marriage, joining what would become a cascade of royal marital failures. The couple's statement claimed no plans for divorce, reflecting both the social stigma and the Church of England's prohibition on remarriage after divorce. But this promise proved short-lived, and on April 13, 1992, Anne filed for divorce, with proceedings finalized 10 days later in a brisk 4-minute hearing. The timing devastated Queen Elizabeth II. Just months after Anne's divorce, Prince Andrew and Sarah Ferguson announced their separation following the toe-sucking scandal. Then in December, Charles and Diana announced their own separation. This triple blow prompted the Queen's famous Annus Horribilis speech, describing 1992 as a horrible year. Anne's divorce revealed a hollow marriage, with both parties having engaged in affairs. Phillips had fathered a daughter, Felicity, with art teacher Heather Tonkin in 1985, paying her £6,000 annually to keep quiet. When the story broke in 1991, a DNA test confirmed his paternity. Meanwhile, Anne's relationship with Timothy Lawrence had continued since the stolen letters scandal. Anne's divorce proceedings stood in stark contrast to the drawn-out bitter separations consuming her brothers' lives. She approached it with characteristic efficiency, refusing to air grievances publicly. On December 12, 1992, Anne married Lawrence in a small ceremony at Crathie Kirk in Scotland, chosen because the Church of England still didn't allow remarriage after divorce. The intimate ceremony with just 30 guests took place days after Charles and Diana announced their separation. But just as Anne found stability in her personal life, another scandal would thrust her back into tabloid headlines, this time involving her English bull terriers, the dog attack that made her the first royal with a criminal record. On April 1, 2002, Princess Anne made history once again, this time for becoming the first senior modern British royal convicted of a criminal offense. While walking her dogs in Windsor Great Park, her 3-year-old English bull terrier, Dottie, escaped and attacked 2 boys riding bikes. The 12-year-old was bitten on the collarbone and leg, while the 7-year-old had scratch marks, leaving both traumatized and requiring hospital treatment. In November 2002, accompanied by her husband and children, Anne appeared at East Berkshire Magistrates Court and pleaded guilty under the 1991 Dangerous Dogs Act. She was the first senior royal to appear as a defendant in over 100 years. Historians noted Charles I in 1649 was the last comparable case. The case was officially Regina versus Anne Elizabeth Alice Lawrence, meaning the Queen was technically prosecuting her own daughter. The prosecution revealed this wasn't Dottie's first incident. The dog had attacked a smaller dog in 1991 and tried to bite a spectator at Gatcombe Park in 1993. District Judge Penelope Hewitt could have ordered Dottie's destruction, but after hearing from dog psychologist Dr. Roger Mugford, who described Dottie as utterly placid, she spared the animal's life. Anne was fined £500, ordered to pay £250 in compensation to each boy, and required to pay £148 in costs. She had to keep Dottie on a lead in public and send her for training, with a contingent destruction order, meaning automatic death if Dottie attacked again. The judge noted the children had suffered considerably and were so traumatized it had put them off dogs entirely. The saga didn't end there. On Christmas Eve 2003, another of Anne's bull terriers allegedly attacked and seriously injured one of Queen Elizabeth II's corgis, Pharos, at Sandringham. Pharos required emergency surgery, but was put down the following day, devastating the Queen. But even as Anne dealt with criminal conviction, she was simultaneously undergoing a more positive transformation that would reshape her entire legacy, the evolution into the royal family's most hard-working member. Throughout the early 20s, Princess Anne quietly transformed from a controversial figure into the most respected and hard-working royal. While Charles struggled with negative press about his divorce, and Camilla, and while William and Harry attracted attention with party boy antics, Anne simply kept her head down and worked. Year after year, she carried out more official engagements than any other royal, traveling constantly for her 300-plus patronages while maintaining a remarkably low profile. The numbers tell a remarkable story. In 2023, Anne performed 457 official engagements, easily topping the list. In 2024, Despite being hospitalized 5 days after a serious head injury in June, she completed 474 engagements, claiming the hardest-working title for the 4th consecutive year. Her typical schedule involves multiple events daily, often in different cities or countries with minimal staff support and little fanfare. Royal expert Richard Fitzwilliams called her invaluable, saying, "Anne is one of the best advertisements for the royal family because she is hard-working, dedicated, and popular. The public sees Anne as someone who is grounded." Her approach emphasizes substance over style and consistent presence over spectacular moments. Anne's value proved especially crucial during 2024, when both King Charles and Catherine, Princess of Wales, were diagnosed with cancer and forced to scale back duties. Anne increased her already heavy workload to help fill the gap, continuing this pace even while recovering from her own serious injury. Her daughter Zara noted in a 2023 podcast that, "My family has a great work ethic, which I'm hoping they instilled in me." The transformation from scandalous young princess to respected elder stateswoman represents one of the most remarkable reinventions in modern royal history, accomplished not through dramatic gestures, but simply by showing up day after day without complaint or fanfare. Yet even as she approached her mid-70s with her reputation secure, Anne would face another near-death experience that would test her resilience once more. The mysterious 2024 head injury that nearly ended everything. On June 23, 2024, Princess Anne sustained a serious head injury at her Gatcombe Park estate, in circumstances that remain unclear.
Princess Anne is in hospital tonight being treated for a head injury and concussion after apparently being kicked by a horse.
The 73-year-old has no memory whatsoever of what happened, but doctors determined her injuries were consistent with an impact from a horse's head or legs.
Are compatible with those you might get from the head or the legs of a horse. That's about as much as they know. But
she was rushed to Southmead Hospital and spent 5 days being treated for what Buckingham Palace initially called minor injuries and a concussion, but the incident was far more serious than publicly acknowledged. Her husband's statement, thanking emergency services, who were also wonderful at the scene, suggested Anne's condition had required immediate emergency response. Reports indicated she had sustained significant short-term memory loss. In a South African interview months later, Anne revealed how disorienting the experience was. "I know where I thought I was going, and that was to go to the chickens. No, nothing to do with horses. Seeing the chickens was my regular visit. I don't have any idea what I was doing in the field." Even more concerning were her reflections. "It just reminds you, shows you, you never quite know. Something happens, and you might not recover. I was very close to not being of sound mind. Every day is a bonus." When Anne returned to the hospital in February 2025 to thank staff, she told ICU workers she seriously had no idea what happened and was grateful in a weird sort of way that I remember nothing, because that has huge advantages. You can just carry on. Most revealing was a source's comment to The Times. Her accident was so much worse than anyone let on, and it took quite a while for her to feel herself again. Anne made her first public appearance on horseback since the accident at Trooping the Colour in June 2025, demonstrating her determination to return to the activities she loved. Yet this near tragedy proved to be only the latest in a lifetime of challenges Anne has overcome with characteristic determination. The ongoing legacy and the royal family's greatest transformation. As Princess Anne enters her final chapter at 74, her legacy as one of the British monarchy's most transformative figures has been firmly established. From a rebellious young princess who scandalized the establishment with affairs and divorce to a respected elder stateswoman serving as the family's most hard-working member, Anne's journey represents a masterclass in personal reinvention and consistent, dedicated service. She has survived a kidnapping attempt, Olympic disappointment, public affairs, a messy divorce, a criminal conviction, and multiple serious injuries, yet emerged from each challenge stronger and more respected. What makes Anne's transformation remarkable is that she accomplished it without fundamentally changing who she is. She didn't become warm and cuddly for the media, didn't court celebrity or give intimate interviews, and didn't adopt the performative vulnerability fashionable among modern royals. Instead, she doubled down on what she does best: showing up, working hard, and treating royal duties as a serious responsibility rather than a celebrity platform. This approach, once criticized as cold, now seems remarkably refreshing in an age of oversharing and manufactured authenticity. Anne's influence extends far beyond her work record. She demonstrated that royal women could be athletes, competitors, and serious professionals rather than just decorative figures. Her decision not to give her children royal titles, once controversial, now seems prescient, as both built successful lives outside the royal bubble. Her daughter Zara's 2012 Olympic silver vindicated Anne's own Olympic dreams and showed that competitive spirit and athletic excellence could be passed down through generations. Perhaps most importantly, Anne has shown it's possible to survive scandal and controversy and still rebuild a reputation based on merit and consistent service. In an era when one misstep can permanently damage a public figure, Anne's journey from her royal rudeness to the monarchy's most valuable member offers hope that redemption is possible through dedication and hard work. She has never apologized for her affairs, divorce, or criminal record, yet she earned public respect simply by focusing on her duties and refusing to dwell on past mistakes. As the monarchy faces an uncertain future, Anne's value has never been more apparent. Royal expert Patricia Treble described King Charles as indefatigable for completing 532 engagements in 2025, finally overtaking Anne's 478 after years of coming in second place. But the fact that a 74-year-old woman was neck and neck with her 77-year-old brother speaks volumes about her extraordinary commitment. The title Princess Royal, which Anne has held since 1987, takes on new significance when we consider everything she has accomplished and survived. She has transformed it into a symbol of unwavering dedication, resilience in adversity, and quiet dignity requiring no fanfare. She has become, in many ways, the embodiment of what royal should mean in the modern age. Not wealth, glamour, or celebrity, but service, dedication, and willingness to do difficult work without seeking glory. Which of these shocking moments in Princess Anne's life do you find most compelling? Do you think her transformation from controversial princess to respected working royal proves that redemption is always possible through consistent dedication?